Uh, Greetings, everyone. What's going on? This your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect. Right here on the StreamYard. So, um, just give me a few moments. I know I'm like behind, so I had to take care of some things. But give me a few moments and I'll get set up. All right, give me a second. All right. So I'm sorry about that, you guys. Good afternoon, and greetings to all of you. May peace and power elevation be to you guys. This your girl Tiffany. I'm here live in effect right here on the StreamYard. So today we're gonna get into the important aspect of history, right? Uh, we're gonna talk about Jamaica, right? We're gonna talk about the independence of Jamaica and its history. So we have, in order for us to get to the point about independence, we have to go through the history of Jamaica and then get up to that point. All right, so many people love hearing about Jamaica, including myself. Um, many of us want to visit the island of Jamaica, and so many of our prominent figures have come up out of this land. We're talking about people like Marcus Garvey, right? Bob Marley, Damon Marley, and Shirley Chisholm. Her parents were from Jamaica. Even Biggie Smalls' mother was from Jamaica, right? So you have a lot of Jamaican immigrants here in America, especially in places like New York, and you will find them here in the South, and you will also find them. You will find them in New Jersey and whatnot, but the strong population is mainly in New York. Like they have a very strong population up there. So yes, it's a lot of Jamaicans up in that area. And even they have their own restaurant, their own little community area too. So with that being said, Jamaica is talked about when it comes to its vacation, but many people don't really know its history or its origin, where it came from, and how it got the name they received today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into a history, all right, and then we're gonna go into some more details, look at some more articles and PDFs about Jamaica. Okay, so let me go ahead and uh show y'all a picture. Okay. As you guys can see, these are the people of Jamaica, right? These are the citizens, right? Um, they got their Jamaican flags going on. They waving the flags around. So yeah, these are the people of Jamaica. And let's look at its history. This is interesting. Out of many one people, all right. Oh, let's play the Jamaican anthem right quick. Oh no, never mind. See. Okay. And this is the royal anthem. Okay, okay. Hold on, I'm trying to stop it. What? Okay, okay. So, anyways, sorry about that. I was trying to stop the music. All right. So, what you heard was both the anthem and the royal anthem, right? And as you can see, this is the flag, and this is the coat of the arms, right? So we're gonna get back into the anthems and the flag in a moment, but let's go on down to here. All right, so here it is, Kingston, Kingston, man, and the official language is English, and the national language is Jamaican Patois, which is actually a broken English. That's all it is. The strong ethnic group is 92.1% African, and including 25% Miss Irish Jamaican. All right, and then you got 6.1% mixed non-black. All right, and then the most strongest religion is Christianity. So many people thought that it would be the Rastafarian culture, right? I mean, we would like to believe that, but no, the most popular religion is Christianity. It's at 68.9%. Okay. And then you got 21.3% none, which are non religious practitioners. And then you got 6.5% others, which is Afro-American religion, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhism, and Judaism. Okay, and the Rastafarian only make up 1.1% Rastafarian. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, they said the unitary a parliament parliamentary constitutional monarchy. The monarch is Elizabeth II, or was Elizabeth II. Patrick Hallen is the governor. Prime Minister is Andrew Holness. There go the Chief Justice. The legislative is the Parliament, and the upper house is Senate. Lower house is House of Representatives. So independence from the United Kingdom. Okay. And that was on August the 6th of 1962. So, all right, then we finna get down to business. Okay. All right. So, as you can see, Jamaica is an island country situated in Caribbean Sea, spanning 10,990 square kilometers in area. It is the third largest island of the Greater Antilles in the Caribbean after Cuba and Hispaniola. Jamaica lies about 145 kilometers, 90 miles, south of Cuba, 991 kilometers, west of Hispaniola, the island containing the countries of Haiti and Dominican Republic. The British overseas territory of the Cayman Islands lies some 215 kilometers to the northwest. All right. Now, let's get down to business for real. Okay, so originally inhabited by the indigenous Arawak and Taino peoples, the island came under Spanish rule following the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1494. Many of the indigenous people were either killed or died of disease to which they had no immunity, and the Spanish thus forcibly transplanted large numbers of African slaves to Jamaica as laborers. The island remained a possession of Spain until 1655, when England, later Great Britain, conquered it, renaming it Jamaica. Under British colonial rule, Jamaica became a leading sugar exporter, with plantation economy dependent on the African slaves, and later their descendants. The British fully emancipated all slaves in 1838, and many freemen chose to have subsistence farms rather than to work on plantation. Beginning in the 1840s, the British began utilizing Chinese and Indian indentured labor to work on plantation. The island achieved independence from the United Kingdom on August the 6th of 1962. All right. Now it says with 2.9 million people, Jamaica is the third and most populous Anglophone country in the Americas after the United States and Canada, and the fourth most populous country in the Caribbean. Kingston is the country's capital and largest city. The majority of Jamaicans are of sub-Saharan African ancestry with significant European, East Asian, primary Chinese, Indian, and Lebanese and mixed race minorities. Due to a high rate of immigration for work since the 1960s, there has been a significant diaspora, particularly in Canada and the United Kingdom and the United States. So yeah, um, especially in the United Kingdom, you're gonna come to find out that a lot of the black people over there are descendants of immigrants that's from the Caribbean islands, and particularly Jamaica and Haiti. So it's a lot of them that migrated over to Great Britain, and they do have a lot of immigrants over there in Canada. As a matter of fact, they have like a festival they normally have every year in Canada, a very large festival. It's like a Caribbean type, and from where I've been told, it's a large population up there. And of course, in the United States, as I mentioned earlier, or that New York has a strong population of Jamaican people. New York is very populated. And also, you will find out in the South, there's a lot of population Jamaican out here. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and continue on, shall we? The country has a global influence that belies its small size. It was the birthplace of the Rastafari religion. You know what? I know somebody that's Rastafarian. I should have them on here, but they probably not available at this time. But anyways, reggae music and associated genres such as dub, ska, and dancehall, and it is internationally prominent in sports. Most notably cricket, sprinting, and athletics. Okay. Jamaica is an upper middle income country with an economy heavily dependent on tourism. It has an average of 4.3 million tourists a year. Politically, it is a Commonwealth realm with Elizabeth II as its queen. Appointing her representative in the country is the Governor General of Jamaica, an office held by Patrick Allen since 2009. Andrew Holness has served as Prime Minister of Jamaica since March of 2016. Jamaica is parliamentary constitutional monarchy with legislative power vested in the bicameral Parliament of Jamaica, consisting of an appointed Senate and a directly elected House of Representatives. All right, so their system is kind of similar to ours here in America, but except that it's under the parliaments and they have to deal with prime ministers and constitution monarch. So, of course, Queen Elizabeth II, she's over Jamaica, but many people don't know that. Yeah, the same queen that's let's make sure we talking about the same queen. Yeah, the same queen of United Kingdom is also the queen in Jamaica. Yeah, because it's still considered as the Commonwealth of Great Britain. So even though it has earned its independence, they still have some say so, basically. So they totally not independent per se. They're just independent because they operate, have their own little society in place. But when it comes to the politics and when it comes to the economics, they're not so independent. So yeah. And I believe they use British currency, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. So yeah. So Great Britain still got their hands in Jamaica as of today, as we speak. They still got their hands on Jamaica. Mm. Yeah. So, but let's go ahead and continue. All right. Her appointed representative. Oh, I already read that part. Okay. Let's go down. So the etymology. The indigenous people of Yamaye, also known as Thaino, called the island Osmega in Akawanian language, meaning the land of wood and water or the land of springs. Colloquially, Jamaicans refer to their home as the Rock. Slang names such as Jamrock or Jamdown or Jandon in Jamaican patois, or briefly Ja, have derived this derived from this. Welcome to Jamrock. Out in the street, they call it murder. All right. So let's look up some more history about Jamaica. Okay. All right. So here's some more information. Okay, 1655, the English invaded Jamaica, defeating the Spanish colonists. African slaves took advantage of the political turmoil and escaped to the island's interior, forming independent communities known as the Maroons. Meanwhile, on the coast, the English built the settlement of Port Royal, which became a base of operation for pirates and privateers, including Captain Henry Morgan. Captain Henry Morgan. As a matter of fact, let's look him up real fast. Who is Captain Henry Morgan? All right, let's look him up. Who is he? Real brief. We ain't gonna spend up too much time on him. Sir Henry Morgan, right? Or Harry Morgan, 1635 to August 25th of 1688, was a Welsh privateer, plantation owner, and later lieutenant governor of Jamaica. From his base in Port Royal, Jamaica, he raided settlements and shipping on the Spanish Main, becoming wealthy as he did so. With the prize money from the raids, he purchased 3 large sugar plantations on the island. All right. Much of Morgan's early life is unknown. He was born in Monmouthshire, but it is not known how he made his way to the West Indies or how he began his career as a privateer. He was probably a member of a group raiders led by Christopher Means Mayens in the early 1660s during the Anglo-Spanish War. Morgan became a close friend of Sir Thomas Morford, the governor of Jamaica, when he diplomatic relation between the Kingdom of England and Spain worsened in 1667. Morford gave Morgan a letter of marque, a license to attack and seize Spanish vessels. Morgan subsequently conducted successful and highly lucrative raids on Puerto Rico, Príncipe, now was it Camagüey in modern Cuba, and Portobello, now Portobello in modern Panama. In 1668, he sailed for Maracaibo and uh was it Gibraltar, both on the Lake Maracaibo in modern day Venezuela. He raided both cities and stripped them of their wealth before destroying a large Spanish squadron as he escaped. It gets interesting. In 1671, Morgan attacked Panama City, landed on the Caribbean coast of traversing the Isthmus before he attacked the city, which was on the Pacific coast. The battle was not a route, although the privateers profit less than in other raids. To appease the Spanish with whom the English had signed a peace treaty, Morgan was arrested and summoned to London in 1672, but was treated as a hero by the general populace and the leading figures of government and royalty, including Charles II. All right. Morgan was appointed a Knight Bachelor in November of 1674 and returning to Jamaica shortly after to serve as the territory's lieutenant governor. He served on the Assembly of Jamaica until 1683, and on 3 occasions he acted as governor of Jamaica in the absence of the post holder. A memoir published by Alexandre Esquemeling, a former shipmate of Morgan's, accused the privateer widespread torture, and other offenses. Morgan brought a libel suit against the book's English publisher and won. Although the black picture as Quamillan portrayed Morgan has affected history's view of the Welshman. He died in Jamaica on August 25th of 1688. His life was romanticized after his death, and he became the inspiration for Pirate's themed works of fiction across a range of genre. Oh, so here it is, a Welsh man, and that's supposed to be a picture of him. He looks hideous. He looks crazy. Hold on. This dude look crazy, man. Look at him. Look at it. Look how they got his mustache, man. They got his mustache all up in here. Okay. But anyways, it's no big secret. So basically, he was one of the Europeans, right, who invaded the land, who took it over from the Spanish and saw that, oh, I can make profit off of this land. And guess what he did? He did that. He did exactly just that. So, based on the storyline so far, Jamaica was part of the Spanish, right? The Spanish had that whole island. Okay, it was Taino people and the what's the other group again? Give me a second. Yeah, it was the Taino people and the Arak people, right? Those people were the tribes that was on that island. And then when the Spanish came over, they brought the African slaves over there. So the African slaves already came over when the Spanish brought them over. And then once the British kicked the Spanish ass, then the British started taking over. Okay. And then it was a place where the Maroon community, right, who were former slaves or escaped slaves, they created their own society, right, and they became autonomous in that area. So, all right, let's continue. And it says in the 19th century, sugarcane replaced piracy as British Jamaica main source of income. The sugar industry was labor intensive, and the British brought hundreds of thousands of enslaved Africans to Jamaica. By 1850, the black Jamaican population outnumbered the white population by a ratio of 20-1. Enslaved Jamaicans mounted over a dozen major uprisings during the 18th century, including Tacky's Revolt. Okay? And we're going to look into that. In 1760, there were also periodic skirmishes between the British and the mountain communities, culminating in the first Maroon War of the 1730s and the second Maroon War of 1795 to 1796. Okay, let's look up Tacky revolts. Let's look that up. Okay. So we're going to read into a little bit about this. Okay, here we go, right here. So now, Tacky's War or Tacky's Rebellion was an uprising of Akan, then referred to as the was an uprising of Akan, then referred to as Caromanti slaves that occurred in Jamaica from May to July of 1760. It was the most significant slave rebellion in the Caribbean between the 1733 slave insurrection on the St. John and the 1791 Haitian Revolution. According to Professor Trevor Bernard, in terms of its shock to the imperial system, only the American Revolution surpassed Tacky's War in the 18th century. It was the most dangerous slave rebellion in the British Empire until the Baptist War of Samuel Sharp in 1831 to 32, which also occurred in the colony of Jamaica. All right. So let's look at how they planned it. So basically, the Akan people, right? Yes, the same Akan people from Africa. Uh-huh. The same Akan people from West Africa. The same Akan people who is now in the area where we know today is Ghana, right? Because that's where they are in Ghana or in the Gold Coast. Okay. These people, right, they had an uprising. It was a slave revolt. Okay, so for those who thought that the slave didn't rebel against their slave master, you're wrong. They did. Okay, they did. Now, many of them have died and some of them succeeded. But there was revolts, and this happened to be one that took place within Jamaica. All right. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Let's go ahead and look at how it was mapped out. The leader of the rebellion, Taki Akan, spelling Taki or Tayaki, or Taki. Okay, I said the right Taki. Was originally from the Fante ethnic group in West Africa and had been a paramount chief in Fante land in the central region of present-day Ghana. Before being enslaved, he, along with the Asante Queen, Nanny or Nana, bold planned to take over Jamaica from the British to be a separate black country, but for themselves and not as allies. Before being a slave, he was a king of his village. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Wait. So here it is. This man was a slave, but before he was a slave, he was a king of his village. So here we got a story that, so for those of you who thought that the slaves were only just the peasants, the workers, the poor people, right? You would come to learn that no, it wasn't just the poor people that was brought into slavery. There were people from royal families and people who were chiefs, queens that was brought into it too, right? You had prince, a royal family that was brought to America. And you had kings that was brought as slaves to America. So it was it was a little some of everybody. It was some of everybody that was thrown in there. Everybody was thrown in there. Some of everybody. It wasn't just the poor people. See, let's get that misconception out the way. But let's go ahead and continue. All right. It says he was the king of his village. He himself recalled selling his rivals of the Ashanti, Nzima, and Ahanta, other Akan state off into slavery as spoils of war to the British. Whoa. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's read that one more time. Let me go ahead and highlight that for you guys. Give me a second. Let me highlight that, please. All right. It says he himself recalled selling his rivals of the Ashanti, Nzima, and Ahanta, other Akan states off into slavery as spoils of war to the British. But ironically, he would become a slave himself when a rival state defeated his army in battle and sold him off to Jamaica as well. So here it is, the king, right, of his village, right? And what was his village called? The Fonte. Okay, he was the king of the Fonte village. And he himself was selling off other rivals of the Ashanti, Nzima, and the Ahanta, right? He was selling off other rivals for other Akan tribal groups into slavery. And guess what? It backfired on him because he ended up becoming a slave himself. He ended up becoming a slave himself. He thought that he was going to get away with it. He thought that he was untouchable. But they said no, because when his army lost the battle, they said, okay, come on, we going to take your ass too. Oh, yeah, you a king, but that doesn't make a difference because you lost your position now. So come on, buddy, get your ass on this boat, and we going to take your ass on down into the foreign land. Yeah, so say bye-bye. That's what they did. Come on, get your ass on this boat. Nah, ain't no turning back. Nah, you coming right along with them too. You thought you was gonna get that fair treatment. You thought you had it like that. Oh, you thought we weren't coming for you. Oh, you thought we weren't gonna slay, or we weren't gonna sell you off either. Oh, you really thought that. Oh, you clever guy. Get your ass on the boat. That was the attitude. And they took his ass to Jamaica. And now he had to do an uprising, a slave revolt. He said, okay, you brought me here to Jamaica. Now we going to fight these motherfucking British off because they got to go, because now we want to take over Jamaica. We want to make this our country. Since I can't go back to Africa, since I can't go back to my Akan tribe, the Fente people, I can't be around them. I can't be a king of my village. I'm going to be a king somewhere else. Best believe that I'm going to revolt. And that was his attitude. But let's see what happens next. It says, according to J.A. Jones, who claimed to have met him while being held captive by Tacky while trying to get an interview with him, in his memoir, he wrote that Tacky spoke very fluent English, which was indeed coming from the ruling class of the Fontes at the time. It says, also according to Jones, he was discovered in a cave a year before the rebellion took place, planning with his comrades. Kwa, or say Yah. That's pronounced in tree as Yah. And Sang and Sobadu, right? And Fula Jati and Kwanti, all except Fula Jati being of Akan descent. Okay. The slave revolt was a coordinated island-wide conspiracy led by a secret network of Akan Coromantee slaves. So they had interacted with each other on a low key, right? And they planned everything out, how they was going to revolt and how they was going to get those British people, how they was going to kick their asses and get them up out that land. But was it successful? Let's look at that. Let's see. Let's see. Did it become successful? Well, let's find out. Okay. It says sometime before daybreak on Easter, April 7th of 1760, Tacky and his follower began the revolt and easily took over the frontier and Trinity plantation while killing their masters. Blustered by their easy success, they made their way to storeroom at Fort Haldine, where the munitions to defeat the town of Port Maria were kept. After killing the storekeeper, Tacky and his men stole nearly 4 barrels of gunpowder and 4 firearms with shots before marching on to overrun the plantation at Haywood Hall in Esher. Okay, and by dawn, hundreds of other slaves joined Tacky and his followers at Ballard's Valley. The rebels stopped to rejoice in their success. One slave from Esher decided to slip away and sound the alarm. Obeah men, remember going back to Obeah, Caribbean witch doctors, quickly circulated around the camp and dispensing a powder that they claimed would protect the men from injury in battle, and loudly proclaimed that the Obeah men could not be killed. Confidence was high. And it says, soon there were 70 to 80 mounted militia on their way, along with some Maroons from Moortown, Charlestown, Jamaica, Scott Hall, Jamaica, who were bound by treaty to suppress each rebellions. The Maroon contingents were commanded by Moortown's white superintendent Charles Swiggle, and the Maroon officers reported to him were Clash and Sambo from Moortown, Quaco and Kane from Charlestown, and Cujo and Davy the Maroon from Scott Hall. Uh-oh. And let's check this out. When the militia learned of the Obeah men's boast of not being able to be killed, and Obeah man was captured and killed and hung with his mask, ornaments of teeth and bone and feather trimmings at a prominent place visible from the encampment of rebels. Many of the rebels, confidence shaken, returned to their plantation. Tacky and 25 or so men decided to fight on. Tacky and his men went running through the woods, being chased by the Maroons and their legendary marksman, Davy. While running at full speed, Davy shot Tacky and cut off his head as evidence of his feat, for which he would be richly rewarded. Tacky's head was later displayed on a pole in Spanish Town until a follower took it down in the middle of the night. The rest of Tacky's men were found in the cave near Tacky's Fall, having committed suicide rather than to go back to slavery. Mm. Hmm. All right. And so I'm gonna read a little bit more. Now that just go to show you that Tacky didn't really succeed, because he eventually came across the Maroon. And what happened? The Maroons, right? And their legendary marksman, Davy, ended up killing Tacky. Mm. So let's look up Akua, Queen of Kingston, real fast. And then we're going to go back to the independence of Jamaica. All right. Akua, Queen of Kingston, in June of 1760, similar plots have been discovered in Manchester Parish and the now defunct parish of St. John, St. Dorothy, and St. Thomas Yavale. It was also discovered that slaves in Kingston had elected a female Ashanti slave named Kuba, a British misnomer of the Akande named Akua. The rank of Queen of Kingston, Kuba or Akua, sat in the state under a canopy at their meetings, wearing a robe and a crown. It is unknown whether there were any direct communication between Kuba's people and Tacky's, but when discovered, she was ordered to be transported from the island for conspiracy to rebel. Whistle at sea, she bribed the captain of the ship to put her ashore in western Jamaica, where she joined the Leeward rebels and remained at large for months. On being recaptured, she was executed. That's one hell of a story there, right? That's one hell of a ride. So that's a story about Tacky's War. You can look up more information about it. Just look up Tacky's War right here, and you will find out more. Okay, so let's get back to Jamaica and how they earned their independence. Okay, so Hmm. Okay. Let's get on down to the British rule. All right, because I gotta skip. Alrighty, then I'm gonna read this little first paragraph right here. No, I'm not gonna read that part. Okay, so there we go. It says in the mid 17th century, sugarcane had been brought into the British West Indies by the Dutch from Brazil. Upon landing in Jamaica and other islands, they quickly urged local growers to change their main crops from cotton and tobacco to sugarcane, with depressed prices of cotton and tobacco due mainly to stiff competition from the North American colonies. The farmers switched, leading to a boom in the Caribbean economies. Right, sugarcane was quickly snapped up by the British, who used it cakes and to sweeten tea. In the 18th century, sugar replaced. I already read that part. Um, Okay, let's go down to where it says by the 1832, the medium-sized plantation in Jamaica had brought about 150 slaves, and nearly one of every four bondsmen lived in units that had at least 250 slaves. In the Book of the Night, Women, right? Author Marilyn James indicates that the ratio of slave owner to enslaved Africans is 133. James also depicts atrocities that slave owners subjected slaves to and violence resisting from the slaves. Numerous slaves died in pursuit of freedom. After slavery was abolished in 1834, a sugarcane plantation used a variety of forms of labor, including workers imported from India under contracts of indenture. Hmm. Okay. All right. So, oh. Okay, so let's skip on down to about the decline of the sugar industry, right? All right, so during the most of 18th century, monocrops economy based on sugarcane production for explore flourish. The last quarter of the century, however, the Jamaican sugar economy declined as famines, hurricanes, and colonial wars and wars of independence disrupted trade. By the 1820s, Jamaica sugar had become less competitive with that from high value producers such as Cuba, and production subsequently declined. By 1882, sugar output was less than half the level achieved in 1828. Okay. And it says a major reason for the decline was the British Parliaments of 1807 abolition of the slave trade, under which the transportation of slaves to Jamaica after March the 1st of 1808 was forbidden. The abolition of the slave trade was followed by the abolition of slavery in 1834 and full emancipation within 4 years. Unable to um, as convert the ex-slave unable to convert the ex-slave into a sharecropping tenant class similar to the one established in the post Civil War south of the United States. Planters became increasingly dependent on the wage labor and began recruiting workers abroad, primarily from India, China, and Sierra Leone. Many of the former slaves settled in peasant or small farm communities in the interior of the islands, the Yam Belt, where they engaged in subsistence and some cash crop farming. And it says the second half of the 19th century was a period of severe economic decline for Jamaica. Low crop price, droughts, and disease led to serious social unrest, uh, culminating in the Morant Bay rebellions of 1865. However, renewed British administration after the 1865 rebellion in the form of crown colony status, resulting in some social and economic progress as well as investment in the physical infrastructure. Agricultural development was the centerpiece of restored British rule in Jamaica. In 1868, the first large-scale irrigation project was launched. In 1895, the Jamaica Agricultural Society was founded to promote more scientific and profitable methods of farming. Also in 1890s, the Crown Land Settlement Scheme was introduced, a land reform program to a source which allows small farmers to purchase two heritage, or was it heritage or more of land in favorable terms. All right, so let's it's a lot of information about Jamaica. I'm gonna be straight up. It's a lot of information. So we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about the Rastafari movement. Okay. The Rastafarian movement, a new religion, emerged among the impoverished and socially disenfranchised Afro-Jamaican communities in the 1930s Jamaica. Its Afrocentric ideology was largely a reaction against Jamaica's then dominant British colonial culture. It was influenced by both Ethiopianism and Back to Africa movement, right? Promoted by black nationalist figure like Marcus Garvey. The movement developed after several Christian clergymen, most notably Leonard Howe, proclaimed that the crowning of Haile Selassie as Emperor of Ethiopia in 1930 fulfilled a biblical prophecy. And by the 1950s, Rastafari's counter-cultural stance had brought the movement into conflict with wider Jamaican society, including violent clashes with law enforcement. Okay, in the 1960s and 1970s, it gained increased respectability with Jamaica and greater visibility abroad through the popularity of Rasta-inspired reggae musicians like Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. Enthusiasm for Rastafari declined in the 1980s following the death of Haile Selassie and Marley. Okay. So Rastafarian was on the uprise. Hopefully I can get a brother on here and we can talk more about the Rastafarian culture and the movement. So yeah, I'm gonna have him come on here and talk about the Rastafarian culture one day. So yeah, I know some people that's in it. So yeah, we're gonna later on. That's what I want to do. Since I'm on that subject, so I'm gonna deal with that subject of the Rastafarian culture. All right. So let's get on down to the independence of Jamaica. Okay, so okay. Mm, okay, so let's go down to the independence of Jamaica. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right. So the road to independence. After World War II, Jamaica began a relatively long transition to full political independence. Jamaicans prefer British culture over American, but they had a love-hate relationship with the British and resent British domination, racism, and the dictatorial colonial office. Britain gradually granted the colony more self-governance under periodic constitutional changes. Jamaica's political pattern and governmental structure were shaped during 2 decades of what was called constitutional decolonization, the period between 1944 and independence in 1962. All right. Having seen how little popular appeal the PNP's 1944 campaign position had, the party shifted towards the center in 1949 and remained there until 1974. The PNP actually won a 0.8% majority of the votes over the JLP in the 1949 election. Okay. Although the JLP won a majority of the House seats in the 1950s, the PNP and the JLP became increasingly similar in their sociological composition and ideological outlook. During the Cold War years, socialism became an explosive domestic issue. The JLP exploited it among property owners and churchgoers, attracting more middle class support. As a result, PNP leaders diluted their socialist rhetoric, and in 1952, the PNP moderated its image by expelling four prominent lefties who had controlled the TUC. All right, so all right, let's get down to okay. So here we go. All right. Jamaica received its independence on August 6th of 1962. The new nation retained, however, its membership in the Commonwealth of Nations and adopted a Westminster style parliamentary system. Botamente, at the age of 78, became the new nation first prime minister. Okay. And then let's go back up here. Okay, so real quick, it says amendments to the Constitution that took effect in May of 1953 reconstituted the Executive Council and provided for 8 ministers to be selected from among House members. The first ministries was subsequently established. These amendments also enlarged the limited powers of the House Representative and made elected members of the governor's executive council responsible to legislature, mainly elected chief minister beginning in January of 1955, accelerated the process of decolonization during his able stewardship of further progress towards self-government was achieved under constitutional amendments in 1955 and 1956, and cabinet government was established on November 11th of 1957. All right. All right, so they end up having a constitutional monarch to this day. So Jamaica received its independence, but it still retains under the Commonwealth nation with British. Excuse me. So it has retained its Commonwealth a nation under the Great Britain. And so Great Britain still pretty much controls the economy of Jamaica, if you want to put it in that technical form. Okay. So if they was like basically decide that they would no longer have an attachment with the British people, right? Then guess what? Jamaica would not be where it's at. It would not be prosperous. It would not be able to accumulate the profits. As a matter of fact, let's look at the per capita income of Jamaica. Let me find that. No, let me go back. I gotta go. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's look under the post independence era. Okay. All right. Well, let me look at the per capita income. So, okay, according to the gross domestic product, right? The total is 26.981 billion dollars. All right, but the per capita is 9,434. All right, and that was back in 2018, and yeah, in 2018 as well. Also, it says the nominal, which is the total 15,424 billion dollars, right, or 15.424 billion dollars, and the per capita was 5,393. Okay, so that currency is the Jamaican dollars. So let's see what the Jamaican dollar look like. Okay, well, they don't have a picture. Okay, interesting. Okay, so their currency is actually, yeah, it says the Jamaican dollar has been the currency of Jamaica since 1969. It is often abbreviated with the JS dollar sign. The J serving the distinguish it from the other dollar dominated currency. Is divided into 100 cent, although cent domination are no longer in use as of 2018. Okay, so they indeed got their own currency. Cool. Hmm. All right, and then okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the value. The value of the Jamaican dollar fluctuated, but at the end of 2018, the U.S. $1 was worth approximately Jamaicans $128 at the time of the currency introduction. 1969 coins of 1 cent, 5 cents, and 10 cents, and 20 cents, and 25 cents were produced, with the exception of a smaller bronze 1 cent, which the composition, size, and shapes of the coin were identical to those they replaced. All right. So indeed, Jamaica does have its currency. All right. But the point that I was making is, if they was to cut themselves off totally, completely from the British people, they would not end up being where they at today. They will be in a very, very, very terrible shape. Right. Not saying that they don't have any poverty issues going on, because of course we know there is poverty going on in Jamaica as we speak, but they will be in a terrible shape just like Haiti right now, because when they had fought for independence, right, they totally cut themselves off from the French people. Now of today, Haiti owe money to the French. So now it's a very poor country fighting off its debt that it owes to the French. So that would have been the same way with Jamaica. They would have been fighting off, putting up a fight for a long time, trying to pay their debts off to the British people. But instead, they decide to stay in the Commonwealth with the British, so that way they won't have to worry about paying off so much debt. Because see, when it comes to getting these independent from these countries, right, especially if you done had wars with them, right, you're gonna end up in debt. You're gonna end up owing those countries some money. All right. Um, let's look at something else real quick. I'm trying to see. Okay, let's look at the economy. Okay, so Jamaica is a mixed economy with both state enterprise and private sector businesses, right? Major sectors of Jamaican economy include agriculture, mining, manufacturing, tourism, petroleum refining, financial and insurance services. Tourism and mining are the leading earners of the foreign exchange. Half of Jamaican economies rely on services, the half of its income coming from services such as tourism. An estimate of 4.3 million foreign tourists visit Jamaica every year. According to the World Bank, Jamaica is an upper middle class income country that its Caribbean neighbors is vulnerable to efforts of climate change and flooding and hurricanes. In 2018, Jamaica represented the Caribbean community at the G20 and G7 annual meetings. In 2019, Jamaica reported the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. Okay. So basically, Jamaica makes most of its profits from tourism and mining. That's where most of the profit come from. So every year you got tourists coming out there to Jamaica, coming to those country. If they have not got enough foreign tourists coming in and visiting, Jamaica economy will really be bad. But that's where the most of the money come in, because that's where most people come and vacate. Right, that's like the main vacation spot in Jamaica. And Jamaica relies on a lot of tourism for its profit. Um, you know what? Let me post up a video real fast that will help to expound on all of this. It's a lot of information about Jamaica that I can't really get into. That will probably take about a part two, or maybe it'll be like a 2 or 3 hour video that I can't do. So let's look up Jamaica independence. All right, and so I'm gonna find a video that's going to help explain about Jamaica's independence in 1962. All right, here's the video right here. This is when they first earned their Independence Day.
Jamaica was the happiest island in all the Caribbean. Kingston was in holiday mood, and the whole population hung out the flags and metaphorically threw its hat in the air. They rejoiced, not that they were parting from Britain, they are firm adherents of the crown, but because Jamaica stood on the threshold of independence. And then it rained. A tropical downpour, as inappropriate as our own deluge on Bank Holiday. But nature relented, and as though to bid welcome, out came the sun as the airliner touched down at Palisadoes Airport, bringing to represent the Queen, Princess Margaret. Independence was to have a royal greeting. There to welcome the princess and her husband was the governor, Sir Kenneth Blackburn, and the veteran Prime Minister, Sir Alexander Bustamante. After the greeting of Lady Blackburn, it was the turn of the Premier to bid Her Royal Highness a loyal welcome. Then Princess Margaret was conducted to the saluting base to receive the royal salute by the Jamaica Regiment. The 12-mile drive from the airport and through Kingston gave thousands the opportunity they had long awaited to express their own greeting in unmistakable manner. At the entrance to King's House, the princess spoke to some disabled children. Among them were girl guides and boy scouts. They are crippled, but they were not forgotten. The royal visitor had a word, too, with the woman in charge of them. Next day, Her Royal Highness opened the great National Stadium which nobly expresses the pride and hope of the new nation. Sir Alexander Bustamante received the Princess and Lord Snowdon and conducted them to the royal box. This was the place where, at midnight on the following day, the flag of independent Jamaica would be raised. Princess Margaret said it was fitting that the country would serve as host for the 9th Central American and Caribbean Games. And after the applause came the emotional rendering of the Jamaican national anthem. The stage was now taken by the young people. Jamaica's youth organizations had heard the princess say that the country's future rested with their generation. They made it look as if that future would be in good hands. One spectator who had been among the prime movers in achieving independence was the opposition leader, Norman Manley. Two minutes to midnight, Sunday, August the 5th, the birth of Jamaican independence. The new flag was about to be hoisted over the stadium. Sir Kenneth Blackburn was soon to be Governor General, the higher rank in accord with the new status of Jamaica as full member of the Commonwealth. It is likely that before long he will be succeeded by a Jamaican, and who better than the 78-year-old Sir Alexander Bustamante. It was another historic day for the emergent nation that saw the state opening of Parliament. The motto chosen for the new coat of arms is, out of many, one people. And here on the Westminster model will sit the Democratic Assembly, who will govern the multiracial 1.75 million who will become one people. On this moving occasion, it was Princess Margaret's privilege to represent Her Majesty the Queen. And as always, when such duty falls to her, she now performed it with a grace and dignity befitting the responsibility. In their places for the inauguration sat the 66 members of the Senate and House of Representatives. Visitors included the papal envoy and dignitaries from independent African states. It now fell to the Prime Minister to receive from the Queen's representative the constitutional instruments of Jamaican independence and to convey to the Princess the speech from the throne, in which the Queen congratulated all who had guided Jamaica to her new status and expressed hope in the nation's future progress and prosperity. The Prime Minister's address of thanks was seconded by the leader of the opposition, Mr. Norman Manley. The first session of Parliament of Independent Jamaica was opened. It followed the pattern of Westminster, the mother of parliaments, from which democracy has spread and flowered in so many lands. 300 years of British government had come to an end, and peacefully, one more nation had been helped to achieve its yearning for self-government. All wish well to the happy people of independent Jamaica.
Okay, so that's the history of Jamaica. And how they got their independence. Real quick, so I'm missing out an important piece. Let's talk about the flag. Okay. Let's look at the history of the Jamaican flag. So hold on. All right, so real quick, let's look up the history of Jamaican flag right here. Flag of Jamaica, right? It says the flag of Jamaica was adopted on August the 6th, 1962. The country having gained independence from the British Protected Federation of the West Indies. The flag consists of a saltire, which divides the flag into four sections, two of them green, top and bottom, and two black, host and fly. Uh, it is currently the only national flag that does not contain the colors red, white, and or blue, and I don't blame them. And it says design and symbolism. The present design emerged from those sent in by the public in the national competition. It was originally designed with was okay, and this is the original flag. This is the first flag they had, right? But this was considered too similar to the flag of Tanganyika as it was in 1962. Only the yellow stripe are thinner, and so the satire was substituted. Okay, it says an earlier interpretation of the colors were hardships there are, but the land is green and the sun shines, as stated in the government ministry paper 28, national flag dated May 22nd, 1962. Gold recalls the shining sun, black reflects hardship, and green represents the land. It was changed in 1996 to black representing the strength and creativity of the people, which has allowed them to overcome difficulties, right? And gold was for the wealth of the country, and the golden sunshine, and green for the lush vegetation of the island as well as hope. The change was made on the recommendation of the committee to examine national symbols and national observance appointed by then Prime Minister P.J. Patterson and chaired by Martin Rex Natterford. The flag was blazoned per satire fert sable a satire or okay. So let's see what or similar emblem from the reader can reconstruct the appropriate image. Okay, interesting. All right. So let's go down to what it says etiquette. Standard etiquette applies in Jamaica to the use of the national flag. Primary ensuring it is always the primary flag flown and it is in good condition. The National Flag Code, a set of rules that owners of a flag should follow, was instituted by the government. Jamaica state ensigned a blue ensign with a Jamaican national flag in the canton, right? It is normally only used by the Jamaican government. Jamaica's naval ensign a white ensign with a St. George cross and the Jamaican national flag in the cannons. Although due to the island's lack of a navy, it is normally only used by the Jamaican Coast Guard. Okay. All right. So this was this original flag right here. So basically, the history of the Jamaican flag, right? This flag that we know today came about in 1962, and the original meaning, as we know, represented the hardship there are, but the land is green and the sun shineth. Okay, so black represented the hardship, green represented the land, and the yellow represented the sunshine or gold. Okay, then it was changed to 1996 to black representing the strength and creativity of the people, right, which has allowed them to overcome difficulties, which is our people. That's what they talking about. And the gold for the wealth, right, which is, wealth that was brought onto that land. And the green is for the lush vegetation because it was known for its sugar cane and other crops like bananas and stuff like that. So it was known for a lot of its natural resources and a lot of its wealth. And the people had put a lot of hardship and a lot of work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears on that land. So that's a beautiful color. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to all the Jamaican brothers and sisters out there. Shout out to you guys. And yes, I love my Caribbean food. I am a Caribbean fan. I love me some jerk chicken. I love that rice and plantains and cabbages. You know what I mean? I always get that dish. I love going to Jamaican restaurants. And their food is affordable too. Think about it. So if y'all ain't never been to a Jamaican restaurant, you need to go. You know what I'm saying? You need to get that good old plate. All right, get you some of that good cabbage, get some of them black beans, right? Some yams, some curry goat or curry chicken or jerk chicken, and that cocoa bread. I love the cocoa bread. I love that. I love that. So you know what? Thinking of that, maybe one day I'm gonna get some Caribbean food. Yeah, I haven't had any in a while. But anyways, that's all about the history of Jamaica. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. There's a lot of history behind Jamaica that I couldn't really get in touch to because if I did, it would be taking me a long time to do so. So if you want to learn more about Jamaica, you can go look it up on Wikipedia. You can look it up on Wiki1, or you can also look up the PDFs about Jamaica. There's so many information out there. So yeah, Jamaica has a very broad history, a very deep history that can't not be put into 1 hour at a time. So it has to be, it has to be done within a 3 hour process or 4 hour process. So it's very long. But anyways, with that being said, I thank you guys for tuning in. For those of you that are watching, if you're watching from Facebook, you can go ahead and share this Facebook video. Right. If you're watching from YouTube or you have not subscribed on my YouTube channel, please do so. If you want to subscribe there, and then if you want to also support what I'm doing, there's my Cash App information, $ Tip World. Yeah. So with that being the case, you guys have a wonderful day. Now I might continue on doing a part 2 of Jamaica history, but I also want to do something about the Rastafarian history as well. So we're going to talk about that. So I might do a part 2 about the history of Jamaica and then talk about the Rastafarian culture. So we're just going to see how things play out. All right. But anyways, you all have a wonderful evening. All right. And I will see you guys later. All righty. Peace, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and make sure you share the video. All right. Deuces. Whew.